like as a founder, as a successful founder, what do you think needs to be sacrificed in order to achieve a success?
I think there's short-term sprints of sacrifice. It's interesting. I think there's a lot about myself, and I do quite a lot of therapy. Fortunately, at this time in my life, and out of a place of curiosity and why I am the way I am. And I think I'm a very reactive person, that can be misconstrued to being proactive, because I give myself a lot to do and I say yes to a lot of things and have to go like, oh, okay, like now I've got to make something happen. And I think I've always been a bit of a timing person and just like pulling it off. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe I get a thrill out of it, or that sort of almost feels like a game or a movie. And I think life is quite fun when you think of it like that. And so I think when I say the short term sprints of sacrifice, like, whether that's my health or my mental health or my relationships or whatever, there's definitely ones that things that fell by the wayside in the pursuit of building the business, and just, the priorities of that time of my life, knowing that there's only 24 hours in a day, and, just very simple things that like rack up, and you go like, oh, damn, did I really forget to do it all now? Okay, can I bring that back into my life? Do I actually have time? What am I spending my time that makes no sense right now? And again, being quite like, I don't think anything has to stay as a long-term sacrifice. I don't think you have to sacrifice your weekends. I don't think you have to sacrifice your evenings or relationships. A long time doing my whole all entrepreneurship, I've been in a very healthy, loving relationship that's been challenged at times by the pursuit of entrepreneurship, but it doesn't need to be sacrificed.
Well, speaking of relationships, actually, once you sort of became a founder and got really, really busy, like how would you say your relationships, different types of relationships, have changed?
I think definitely for the better. I'm not I'm not known as the best communicator to start with, and I think part of that is just like a frustration with texting culture and social media and as a means to keep up with each other. I'm much more one text, meet in person, maybe a phone call if it's necessary, and I think like the more and more you like make that the status quo, like people just adapt and know that you're not doing it from a place of like not caring or whatever. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's just I can only really care for people when I'm there in the moment and able to listen and understand it. Otherwise, like, what's the point? So yeah, relationships, there are loads of people that I don't get to see enough, and people that are moving countries and moving on with their own lives and careers. But I respect that. Like, a lot of the people that I are still very core to my life are also equally ambitious people on their own journeys. And I think, like, it's not to say that there are people that aren't that I couldn't be friends with, but I think there has to be like an understanding of each other. And I think me doing what I'm doing and just pursuing it like almost selfishly at times, like has almost in a way worked itself out to be better for my relationships. Obviously I caveat that by saying like your direct family and your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever like should be treated with more more selflessness, shall we say. And so that's an ongoing learning curve.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because a lot of founders we speak to, they say like the romantic relationships really struggle as you progress as a successful founder. Like, how do you find time for your sort of like more personal relationships?
I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, like, as much as I love work, and I think you can tell from this conversation that I'm deeply passionate about what I do, my absolute dream day involves no work at all. Like it's skiing, it's sailing, it's like, seeing the beauties of the world, being on a hike, being out there, like that's, being at a festival, listening to music. And so I'm just in, but that's not realistic on a day-to-day basis. So I think like for me, it's almost like thank God I have something that rivals that in terms of that I enjoy and fascinates me in terms of work that can infiltrate that that status quo of just wanting to just do stuff that doesn't result in any money and actually just costs you a lot of money.
Well, like, given the kind of success that you're having and the experience that you're fortunate to have, like, what would you say? Would you say that they're kind of like insecurities that are potentially amplified by success?
Oh, yeah, I think that like, I mean, insecurities are, a weird one, I think, because I think as much as they might shape shift in how they surface, like they're probably still the same ones that you've always had in some way, shape, or form. Like, you know, like let's take vanity for an example. Like, you know, brace faced, poorly dressed, slightly tubby, like 13-year-old me had a different experience of vanity to me that's now building my brand online and is part of a world where everybody's very successful and like those, that wanting to appear and look good or it happens in a different way, and sometimes plays a larger role in your life, and so I think success just, it just, well, I don't know what is success, but success just changes that. Getting into different rooms with different types of people that care about different things, bring out your insecurities in different ways.